What is fasting? Fasting involves the abstinence from all or some food and drink for a given period of time. Despite being popularized by today's diet world, the practice of fasting dates back centuries and is thought to be one of the oldest therapies in medicine. It plays a central role in cultural and religious practices, with all major religions partaking in one form or another. Whether it involves the abstinence of food and drink or a lighter, lower-calorie form of eating. Many argue that going without food for periods of time is something we have evolved to do. It sounds so simple: no choices, no counting calories, no cooking. Just say no to food, and start fasting for quick weight loss and other health benefits. And finally, is fasting healthy? Although fasting has been practiced for thousands of years, the question is still a subject of intense medical debate. Our bodies have evolved to be able to go without food for many hours, or even several days or longer. In prehistoric times, before humans learned to farm, they were hunters and gatherers who evolved to survive, and thrive, for long periods without eating. They had to. It took a lot of time and energy to hunt game and gather nuts and berries. Even 50 years ago, it was easier to maintain a healthy weight. There were no computers, and TV shows turned off at 11 p.m. People stopped eating because they went to bed. Portions were much smaller. More people worked and played outside and, in general, got more exercise. Nowadays, TV, the internet and other entertainment are available 24/7. We stay awake for longer hours to catch our favorite shows, play games and chat online. We're sitting and snacking all day, and most of the night. Extra calories and less activity can mean a higher risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease and other illnesses. Scientific studies are showing that intermittent fasting may help reverse these trends. Whether a person is fasting or not, the body still needs energy. Its primary energy source is a sugar called glucose. It usually comes from carbohydrates, including grains, dairy products, fruits, certain vegetables, beans, and even sweets. The liver and muscles store the glucose and release it into the bloodstream whenever the body needs it. However, during fasting, this process changes. After about 8 hours of fasting, the liver will use the last of its glucose reserves. At this point, the body enters into a state called gluconeogenesis, marking the body's transition into fasting mode. Studies have shown that gluconeogenesis increases the number of calories the body burns. With no carbohydrates coming in, the body creates its own glucose using mainly fat. Eventually, the body runs out of these energy sources as well. Starvation mode. Fasting mode then becomes the more serious starvation mode. At this point, a person's metabolism slows down, and their body begins burning muscle tissue for energy. Although it is a well-known term in dieting culture, true starvation mode only occurs after several consecutive days or even weeks without food. So, for those breaking their fast after 24 hours, it is generally safe to go without eating for a day unless other health conditions are present. Risks of fasting. Although it is generally safe, going a day without eating can be risky for some people, including 1. People with diabetes. 2. People with a history of eating disorders. 3. People using medications that they must take with food. 4. Children and adolescents. 5. Those who are pregnant or breastfeeding. 6. People with wasting diseases or malnutrition. 7. Those with a history of cardiac arrhythmias. 8. People with hepatic or renal insufficiency. And anyone who fasts for extended periods should do so only under close medical supervision. If you weed through all the controversy, you'll find that most medical experts agree on one thing. Fasting is not a healthy weight loss tool. The appeal is that fasting is quick, but it is quick fluid loss, not substantial weight loss. If it's easy off, it will come back quickly, as soon as you start eating normally again. Even some proponents of fasting for other medical purposes do not support fasting for weight loss. Some say it can actually make weight problems worse. Fasting is not a weight loss tool. Fasting slows your metabolic rate down so your diet from before the fast is even more fattening after you fast. Fasting for weight loss carries other health risks as well. Fasting for a day or two is rarely a problem if you are healthy, but it can be quite dangerous if you are not already eating a healthy diet, or if you've got liver or kidney problems, any kind of compromised immune system functioning, or are on medication, even Tylenol. Even worse for dieters is that fasting for weight loss distracts people from the real message of how to lose weight. Lower fat intake, eat 5 fruits and vegetables a day, drink water and stop drinking other liquids, walk 30 minutes a day, and get more sleep. In addition, other practices that are often combined with fasting for weight loss, such as colon cleansing, carry their own risks. Enemas. Fasts are sometimes accompanied with enemas to cleanse your intestinal tract, and that can be very dangerous. The intestinal tract has a lot of good bacteria. When you are changing that balance, the good bacteria are affected, too. Popular diet plans include 12-hour or 16-hour fasting periods, as well as the 24-hour fast. Some diets require people to drink only water during the fast, while others allowed any zero-calorie beverage. Fasting is not necessarily better than any other weight loss method, including reducing daily calorie intake by a small amount. In a recent study, people with obesity who fasted intermittently for 12 months lost slightly more weight than those who dieted in a more traditional way, but the results were not statistically significant. The same study found that people who fasted were more likely to give up on weight loss efforts than those who dieted in a more traditional way, such as counting calories. The researchers concluded that fasting might be harder to maintain over time. Another possible concern is post-fast binging. Some fasting experts agree that it is easy to derail weight loss successes by overeating after the fasting period. Fasting days can also offer a false sense of security, leading people to disregard positive eating habits on non-fasting days. Does fasting detoxify the body? Here's where the debate gets intense. There is no scientific evidence it will detox the body. The issue of fasting to cleanse the body has no biological basis because the body is real good at that by itself. The liver is a natural detox center, the lungs, the colon, the kidneys, the lymph glands, and the skin get rid of toxins. We know that the body is unable to rid itself of toxins when we eat a diet low in nutrients, and that applies to most Americans, even those who think they are healthy, some argue. Americans eat 51% of their diet from processed foods and foods low in phytochemicals and antioxidants. So you see a buildup of waste products in the cells, age, advanced glycation end products that build up in cellular tissues and lead to atherosclerosis, aging, diabetes, nerve damage, and the deterioration of organs. This is basic science and physiology every doctor learns in medical school. Along with improving your overall diet, fasting is one solution to that buildup of age, according to advocates like Furman. Fasting allows the body to most effectively remove these waste products. The body is designed to fast, we do it every night. How does fasting remove toxins from the body? When you go without eating for more than a day or two, the body enters into ketosis. Ketosis occurs when the body runs out of carbohydrates to burn for energy, so it burns fat. Toxins. And the fat is where the body stores many of the toxins it absorbs from the environment. Fasting to treat disease. Fasting advocates also claim that the practice can effectively treat serious health conditions, from arthritis and colitis to heart disease and depression. Fasting, combined with improving the diet before and afterward, eliminate lupus, arthritis and chronic skin conditions like psoriasis and eczema. Fasting heal the digestive tracts of those with ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease, and lower blood pressure. Fasting followed by a vegetarian diet interferes with the immune system's activities, especially if the immune system is overreacting, as it does with, and other autoimmune diseases. Studies published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences and the Journal of Nutrition in 2003 showed that mice forced to fast every other day, while eating twice the normal amount of food on non-fasting days, had better insulin control, neuronal resistance to injury, and other health indicators than mice fed calorie-restricted diets. Fasting may yield psychological benefits as well. I use very brief fasting with my patients to help them cope with stress and depression, says Agnese Barolo, a life coach in contemplative practices in New Rochelle, New York. I start them with just a few hours, so they learn to say no to food. It's the first step in taking control of their lives. Many are so encouraged that they try longer fasts, she says. I know some doctors say there is no scientific evidence for the curative powers of fasting, Barolo says. But there is a reason every culture in every country has practiced some form of fasting for thousands of years. Fasting is not advisable for everyone. But for those whose medical conditions do not respond to other treatments. Sometimes fasting 4 to 5 days a month can help them break to a next level of immune competency. It will only work if you frame the fast with good nutrition before and after. For most medical conditions, if you stick to a strict diet, you don't even need fasting. What is intermittent fasting? Many diets focus on what to eat, but intermittent fasting is all about when you eat. With intermittent fasting, you only eat during a specific time. Fasting for a certain number of hours each day or eating just one meal a couple days a week can help your body burn fat. And scientific evidence points to some health benefits, as well. How does intermittent fasting work? There are several different ways to do intermittent fasting, but they are all based on choosing regular time periods to eat and fast. For instance, you might try eating only during an 8-hour period each day and fast for the remainder. 1 meal a day. Or you might choose to eat only 1 meal a day 2 days a week. There are many different intermittent fasting schedules. After hours without food, the body exhausts its sugar stores and starts burning fat. This can be referred to as metabolic switching. Intermittent fasting contrasts with the normal eating pattern for most Americans, who eat throughout their waking hours. If someone is eating 3 meals a day, plus snacks, and they're not exercising, then every time they eat, they're running on those calories and not burning their fat stores. Intermittent fasting works by prolonging the period when your body has burned through the calories consumed during your last meal and begins burning fat. Intermittent fasting plans. It's important to check with your doctor before starting intermittent fasting. Once you get his or her go-ahead, the actual practice is simple. You can pick a daily approach, which restricts daily eating to one 6 to 8 hour period each day. For instance, you may choose to try 16/8 fasting, eating for 8 hours and fasting for 16. Another, known as the 5 to 2 approach, involves eating regularly 5 days a week. For the other 2 days, you limit yourself to one 500 to 600 calorie meal. An example would be if you chose to eat normally on every day of the week except Mondays and Thursdays, which would be your 1 meal days. Alternate day fasting. Eat a normal diet one day and either completely fast or have one small meal, less than 500 calories, the next day. Intermittent fasting benefits. Research shows that the intermittent fasting periods do more than burn fat. When changes occur with this metabolic switch, it affects the body and brain. A range of health benefits associated with the practice include a longer life, a leaner body and a sharper mind. Many things happen during intermittent fasting that can protect organs against chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, age-related neurodegenerative disorders, even inflammatory bowel disease and many cancers. Here are some intermittent fasting benefits research has revealed so far. Thinking and memory. Studies discovered that intermittent fasting boosts working memory in animals and verbal memory in adult humans. Heart health. Intermittent fasting improved blood pressure and resting heart rates as well as other heart-related measurements. Physical performance. Young men who fasted for 16 hours showed fat loss while maintaining muscle mass. Mice who were fed on alternate days showed better endurance in running. Diabetes and obesity. In animal studies, intermittent fasting prevented obesity. And in 6 brief studies, obese adult humans lost weight through intermittent fasting. Tissue health. In animals, intermittent fasting reduced tissue damage in surgery and improved results. What can I eat while intermittent fasting? During the times when you're not eating, water and zero-calorie beverages such as black coffee and tea are permitted. Being normal. And during your eating periods, eating normally does not mean going crazy. You're not likely to lose weight or get healthier if you pack your feeding times with high-calorie junk food, supersized fried items and treats. Is intermittent fasting safe? Some people try intermittent fasting for weight management and others use the method to address chronic conditions such as irritable bowel syndrome, high cholesterol or arthritis. But intermittent fasting isn't for everyone. Before you try intermittent fasting, or any diet, you should check in with your primary care practitioner first. Keep in mind that intermittent fasting may have different effects on different people. Talk to your doctor if you start experiencing unusual anxiety, headaches, nausea or other symptoms after you start intermittent fasting. Fasting for longer life. There are hundreds of studies showing that when animals are fed fewer calories they live longer. Studies on animals ranging from earthworms to monkeys have shown that alternating cycles of fasting and very calorie-restricted diets is a reliable way to extend the lifespan. The excess calories Americans eat shorten their lives. If you want to live longer, eat healthy and fast periodically. The time may come when not offering this substantially more effective nutritional approach will be considered malpractice. Many diet and exercise trends have origins in legitimate science, though the facts tend to get distorted by the time they achieve mainstream popularity. Benefits are exaggerated. Risks are downplayed. Science takes a backseat to marketing. One needn't look any further than the emerging trend of intermittent fasting for a prime example. Advocates for taking periodic breaks from eating, for up to 24 hours once or twice a week, tout it as an effective and research-backed means of losing weight and improving health. That message has been reaching more and more ears of late. Caloric restriction, undernutrition without malnutrition, is the only experimental approach consistently shown to prolong survival in animal models. During the 9th month, Ramadan, of the Islamic calendar, Hijra, many millions of adult Muslims all over the world fast during the daylight hours. Since Hijra is a lunar calendar, Ramadan occurs at different times in the seasonal year over a 33-year cycle. Fasting during Ramadan is partial because the abstention from food, fluid, tobacco and caffeine is from sunrise to sunset. Several categories of people are exempt or can postpone the Ramadan fast. The effect on health and well-being of the month-long intermittent fast and fluid restriction has been studied in various potentially vulnerable groups in addition to normal healthy individuals in many countries. The majority of the studies have found significant metabolic changes, but few health problems arising from the fast. A reduction in drug compliance was an inherent negative aspect of the fast. Common findings of the studies reviewed were increased irritability and incidences of headaches with sleep deprivation and lassitude prevalent. A small body mass loss is a frequent, but not universal, outcome of Ramadan. During the daylight hours of Ramadan fasting, practicing Muslims are undoubtedly dehydrating, but it is not clear whether they are chronically hypohydrated during the month of Ramadan. No detrimental effects on health have as yet been directly attributed to negative water balance at the levels that may be produced during Ramadan.